Guys, we've got some checking in to do with some weakness today in the crypto world and some key supports coming into play. We know it's been a very headline sensitive environment over the last couple of days, and we have crypto reacting to that. And you got to remember, again, number one, I'll say that the NASDAQ and Bitcoin are correlated all day long. I'm more zoomed in than other people. The people that are arguing that it's not are zoomed way out. Okay, that's fine. But I have not seen anything from a trading basis day to day that tells me it's not correlated. I see it very significantly correlated. Anyways, aside from that, you have to remember that it's one of the few instruments that trades 24/7, and that's changing as brokers start to allow stocks, overnight trading and things like that. We got weekend Wall Street. But again, if I've got 10% of my portfolio long Bitcoin, and I've got 90% of my IRA long stocks, and a bomb drops overnight and futures drop, I don't have a futures account. I'm selling Bitcoin to act as a bit of a hedge or to try and protect a little bit. So just have to keep in mind that's the dynamics of what is going on when you see Bitcoin, in addition to when you see Bitcoin reacting to these headlines, in addition to, of course, all the automated systems that traders put together with correlations and, bots and algos that are trading rapidly. So what we have right now on Bitcoin is a beautiful equilibrium. We had this big move up and we said, we don't want to be chasing. It's leaving patient bulls in the dust, but we know we got to wait for daily consolidation. We haven't confirmed a daily uptrend. We then pulled back significantly on the first wave of bomb fear. And that was a play for aggressive bulls to be making a play off of the recent lows just above 100,000. We got a nice bounce. Some traders selling into that bounce, stick your stop under the low. We set a lower high. We got another drop today. And there's relative weakness today in Bitcoin. Bitcoin led the way down. I mean, look at that hourly chart. That's a lot of weakness, right? We got to call it like it is. And if you compare that to the NASDAQ did just roll over in the last hour, but it's nowhere near as weak as what Bitcoin has been doing over the last 12 hours, we'll say. So what we care most about, number one, hourly stair step. It's a lower high every single day. Nope, every single hour over the last 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 hours in a row. So that shows you significant selling pressure. But what we care most about are our daily levels in this equilibrium. So we care about that low at 100.3. We care about that higher low at 102.7. We care about where we topped out, our lower high. And we got the FOMC tomorrow and then a US holiday right after it on Thursday. But we're going to be looking at, this bull's got to show up right here to defend this 102.7 support. And we'll see if the NASDAQ can bounce here to give a little confidence. But I really don't want to break 100,000. And the reason I really don't want to break 100,000 is because if 100,000 is holding as support, I don't have to do any thinking. The chart's bullish. Bitcoin is bullish. If 100,000 breaks, we got to get on our toes a little bit and be cautious. Because again, the last thing I want to see is a weekly bull flag attempt fail to confirm a weekly downtrend. If that happens, we will be in a weekly and a daily downtrend. So we'll have to zoom out. We'll go to the monthly chart. We'll watch for a monthly inside bar, ideally, because the next support zone will be the low of that month, 93,000 range. And then that, June's going to be done at that point, another week and a half. But at that point, it will be bull breaks. I really dislike bull breaks with no follow through. Nothing makes me more cautious as a bull than breaking resistance straight into a pullback. And again, I know you're already seeing it with people making the comparisons to 2021. And why I don't want 100,000 to break is because then I'm going to have to constantly be assessing, is this 2021 happening all over again? Because at that point, if that does happen, it will be looking pretty strikingly similar. And obviously, bulls don't want to see that happen. If you want to go longer term, you're just using monthly EMA 12 and making the simple statement, if monthly EMA 12 is support, I've got nothing to worry about. And that's a fine statement as well. If you want to give a longer leash and more wiggle room and you're fine sitting through a 15% drop, that's fine. Because that's been our guide over the last couple of years. But another thing, again, if we break 100,000, number one, everybody talking about a super cycle. I never liked that. But the 6 month, I've pointed this out a couple times. In the history of Bitcoin, we've never seen a bull market have more than 5 green 6 month candles in a row. And in 13 days, the 5th green 6 month candle is going to close. Can we see for the first time ever 6 green 6 month candles in a row? Absolutely, that's a possibility. But something that has never happened before in the 15 years of Bitcoin would have to happen. And I don't like having that as something that needs to happen if we're going to see more upside. So again, it's just a tiny little factor, right? Number of green candles, who cares? Why is that? Well, if you combine it with this other stuff, it's just the little pieces that we put together. So I'm not raising any big red flags or anything like that at this moment. But if we lose 100,000, I'm going to go like this. Don't care, bulls, whatever, hardly paying attention. And then I'm going to be doing this. Uh-oh, okay, got to pay attention. So we'll see how this equilibrium breaks as we are approaching support. 100,000 round psychological number. NASDAQ is still holding on. Again, it's looking a little toppy. Bulls are looking a little tired. I mean, really, nothing's gone on the last 2 weeks. Some sideways grind. This base down here is a double bottom at the daily higher low uptrend. Solid day yesterday. We're giving some back. Still no red flags. The red flag in the broader market for me arises when we lose this base of support, when the daily uptrend is lost. And then we would zoom out and look for a weekly higher low. So we're keeping an eye on it. Because if we start weekly consolidation in the NASDAQ, Bitcoin's probably going to break 100,000, just with the relationship and how they've been trading similarly to each other. Dominance chart, still all bulls, up near that high, nothing changing. Is the weekly higher low pattern still intact? Yes, okay, nothing changing. Bitcoin strong, no alt season, as long as that is the case. Crypto stocks, I was looking at Riot getting the rotation, and there was a period of that rotation, and we're getting an uh-oh candle today. So we had previous resistance, back testing it on daily consolidation, holding daily EMA 12, bounce yesterday, no red flags. Uh-oh, we're almost about to break this low of 950. And that would just mean weekly consolidation is underway. And again, it would be a weekly trend change straight into consolidation. Not game over for the bulls, but not ideal. A little bit of a cause for concern. The other crypto stocks, like MSTR, continues to show relative weakness. Again, back in November, I said I think that premium top is set. And we've got MSTR divided by Bitcoin continuing to weaken. Jeff Chanos, his long Bitcoin, short MSTR play. Keeping an eye on it. And we'll see if that breaks bear. MSTR divided by Bitcoin. Coin had a great day yesterday. The genius vote in the Senate has been a little bit of a catalyst for CRCL and Coin. Coin's obviously pulling back today. Look at this resistance zone. Rejecting from the 260s. CRCL double top with the all-time high at the high of yesterday into daily consolidation. Now we got gap fill there. So temporary top in these crypto stocks with the Bitcoin weakness. ETH heading down towards support. So we know we've got a base of support here. First level, 2439, but I care more about this zone in the 2300s. And again, it's the same thing. Bull break with zero follow through is not a good look. These upper wicks are not a good look. Bulls are still hanging on. They're still battling. They're still fighting for support. But they need to hold it. But we're close to confirming a daily downtrend on ETH. And we know ETH BTC, not much going on, still sideways. But the bulls haven't proven it. And the burden of proof is on bulls. Is this sideways range going to break bull for the first time in a year plus after the previous ones broke bear? And so far the answer is not yet. So again, just to summarize everything I just said, we do have correlation with the broader market that you should be paying attention to. The bulls are just fine still. If Bitcoin loses 100,000, I'm less confident. It requires a lot more analysis and paying attention and watching for the potential shift that's underway. It's still all Bitcoin. There's no sign of any altcoin season. And you have to keep in mind that everything that I'm saying, just know that, there's a lot of crypto YouTubers that bank on a sure thing of the cycles and the timing of things. And my brain as a trader just doesn't work that way. And that's because I come from stocks. And granted, their calendar cycle brain has paid off for them. But I just cannot trust that you're going to be able to set your watch to life-changing money opportunities in markets. That's just not how markets work. And that's why so many altcoin bulls have been killed this year and last year because they were banking on it happening again. And I have a really hard time in trusting my faith. I mean, a market by default seeks out to disrupt the patterns that everybody starts to pay attention to. It's like it's what its job is. So that's all I'll say, and we'll move on to other altcoins now. I want to check in on hype. So one thing that we're watching in the altcoin space is bear rotation, right? We know alts have been weak, but what you see is you get a couple lone names. 1 to 3 names will stand out as the lead bulls. And this happens most cycles. And then I've talked about it many times, but you then top out and the relative strength very quickly changes to relative weakness. And so the question now looking at hype, is hype about to go from lead bull to lead bear? And we've got this rising wedge, which is trying to confirm. And we're going to keep an eye on this. We're on the verge of losing the daily uptrend. It's still holding 37.44. That's a key short-term level. If we hold 37.44, we'll be watching for the potential of a head and shoulders. We'll stick with the daily. So if 37.44 holds, we got to be cautious of a head and shoulders. Also note that everything that I just said, which has a bit of a bear cloud hanging over it, I'm well aware. If I didn't say those things, and if I was team super cycle bull, I would have more views, I would have more followers, I'd have more social media interactions. So I hope you can appreciate the fact that I am just giving what my opinion is as the NASDAQ breaks to fresh lows, disregarding that because it's more important to give what I feel is my honest opinion rather than what people want to hear to give me better analytics. Just got to keep an eye on the NASDAQ, 5-minute downtrend continuing. Solid move by bears. NASDAQ, we got the 12-hour now, lower high. Well, not quite a lower high, but I'm viewing the 12-hour as a tightening range. And Bitcoin has stopped going down. So now we can say, okay, there's a small amount of relative strength now in Bitcoin over the last 20 minutes. And I just used Tesla relative strength. So here's a quick example before I read the chat and start going over some more altcoins because I cut my point off there. But so Bitcoin right now, okay, NASDAQ clear bear break to a lower low. Bitcoin does not. I just did this with Tesla. And I'm now in a risk-free Tesla bounce attempt, which is probably going to stop out while we're on stream here. But Tesla double bottomed at the low of the day while the NASDAQ clearly broke lower. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to play the Tesla bounce. And ended up, getting along, selling a bit into the bounce and getting a risk-free stop under the low of the day. If we bounce like we've done 100 times, I'll have a solid entry. And if it doesn't work out, I don't lose anything. That's my ideal kind of trade. But it's the sign of the relative strength that then gives the confidence to make the bounce attempt or determine which name am I going to choose. I want a name that has a support level. Right now, the NASDAQ's in free fall from today's level. There's no support nearby. But if I can find a name that has a support to play off of, then that's the name that I want to choose. And I'm going to try and align it. I'm watching the NASDAQ on one screen, and if I'm watching Bitcoin on the other screen, I'm keeping an eye on the 1 minute chart of the NASDAQ. I'm looking for the first sign that at least a temporary bottom to this newest flush is being set. And I look to align that with an entry into Bitcoin for what this would be a 5 minute higher low play. I know Bitcoin's not going to confirm a 5 minute uptrend if the NASDAQ is still in free fall. So I need to see some sign that the NASDAQ is putting a stop to the drop. Anyways, what you often see in the altcoins is bear rotation. The lead bull turns into a lead bear. We're watching, does hype do that? And some examples recently of names that have done that. CRV. Remember CRV was a lead bull? Glaring lead bull April and May. It topped out, and it has now very clearly been on Team Bear ever since that top. And you look at CRV divided by BTC. And you can see that the relative strength just disappeared. And now QNT, another one. Again, there's just so many examples, but QNT was a lead bull. Great move, 100% move. But it has drastically shifted. We lose the uptrend, we confirm a bear flag, confirming the daily downtrend. And now we got to be cautious. Is QNT about to peak in its relative strength move and now just be relatively weaker for weeks and months? That's possible, and that's something we got to be paying attention to. Okay, checking in on altcoins. A lot of red out there. Again, all these names like RNDR, great bounce. If you can't confirm a daily uptrend, it doesn't matter. So we had a great bounce. We give it all back to fresh lows, and now we bear flag to continue the drop. QNT, CRV are down at the lows in terms of the weakest today. SUI, I was watching that falling wedge. It broke bull, but what did we not do? We didn't confirm a daily uptrend. Moves without trends are nice. They can be fast and exciting, but if you do not confirm the trends, there's my runner stop out on Tesla. Break even, smaller position. Generally what I do is I'll enter something like 500 shares, chop 200, leave one go for an attempt at a swing position, but no go with the NASDAQ, dump. All right, reading the chat room now while you hit the like button. When I look at BTC through the lens of it being just another NASDAQ stock, your life will be easier, probably won't break out until the stock market does. Generally speaking, I can agree with that. 2017 was different. And again, for me, it's just, for me to be a complete focus on crypto, and that's the other thing, you have all these other crypto channels where crypto's their thing. They don't trade stocks. And that's fine. I find there's much more opportunity when I'm willing to go over here. Nope, it's better over here. And again, the crypto market over this bull move has not given me anything that stocks have not given me. 2017, nothing in the stock market was running 1,000+% like crypto was. But, this Bitcoin bull move has been great. I've definitely enjoyed it. Coming off the 2023 lows, but even then, look at Meta. Meta Facebook stock, 740%. That's very comparable to what Bitcoin did off more, right? So if I long Meta from those lows, I'm making more than I would longing Bitcoin. And Bitcoin's obviously outperforming the altcoin. So again, this isn't to talk smack about crypto stream. It's not my intention, but I'm just saying that crypto is quickly transforming because of its adoption by, TradFi. It's quickly becoming just another thing that doesn't stand out. Again, fundamentals, your keys, your coin, okay, I get all that. But in terms of gains and opportunity, it's just not special like it used to be. And that's what happens when you get a huge increase in market cap and you get, market makers with huge amounts of coins on the bid and the ask, regulating the market and making it less volatile. It's just a part of what happens during a massive adoption. So Yeah, I agree with what Jungle Cat said. Could I discuss how someone can get out from under a bad trade? Example, your stop loss was skipped and now you're an unintentional bag holder. For me, anytime that happens in stocks. You know, I'm in a swing position, bad news, gap down open. If I'm not meant to be in the trade, I want to get out of the trade as soon as possible. Because not only is it opportunity cost with dollars being lost, but mentally it's opportunity cost. If I'm now in a bag holding position, and again, this is me speaking as a trader, but now my money's tied up. And if I'm waiting for a 5% bounce and something really weak, well, I could be using that money on a name, you know, you got CRWV stock here in breakout mode, blue sky breakout after a sideways daily range. It's much easier to get 5% on a name like this versus 5% on a name that's in a downtrend that skipped my stop. So I will pretty much always, you know, if anything, when I realize the mistake, I'll find a level right nearby where I'll say, all right, I'm just using that level. If it holds, maybe I can recover some, but I want to be out ASAP if I'm not supposed to be in the trade. It's the purpose of the stop loss. ETH distribution. I mean, I'm sure you could draw a Wyckoff ETH, right? Wyckoff. I'm spelling it wrong. But you know the image. You get the sideways range with the bull break that lacks the follow through. And likewise, when it's a bottom, you know, you get the bull break with no follow through. I mean, yeah, it looks like that could be shaping up. Absolutely. I mean, look at these. Look at this comparison here. Sure looks pretty similar here. Sideways, one bull break with no follow through, back to support. We didn't break support, but then another one, no follow through, and here we are back to testing these lows. I mean, it's almost as close as you can get. So again, hype, I just wanted to ensure that I cover hype sufficiently for someone. So again, daily uptrend still intact. Key support 37.22. If it holds, we got to be cautious the daily head and shoulders. If we lose the daily uptrend, we got to be cautious of a straight up weekly stair step move, finding a top, and potentially, you know, the key will be if hype BTC just starts reversing. I don't know how I would find that pairing here. But just got to protect that it's not hype's time in the spotlight that is shifting to then become relatively weak. Thanks, Simon. Is it fair to say that war headlines often lead to a buy the dip opportunity? Yes. Feels like the war is almost immune to the market. You mean the market's immune to the war? Reaction short-lived or muted? Yeah, I mean, in the sense that, I mean, you look at the NASDAQ chart. If these war headlines can't lead us into weekly consolidation, I mean, what's it going to take? I mean, the stage is set. Here is your free setup for weekly consolidation. And bears are still struggling, which is astounding. You know, most of the time you get the initial emotion. What it is emotions, right? We get the emotional reaction to the news of the bombs and the clips on the news, and then it fades away from, you know, our remember, I mean, we were getting negative reactions to Israel-Palestine stuff when that first started. What would be required for it to be a real big deal? The next big thing is obviously, does the U.S. directly get involved? That would probably be a bearish reaction. But again, it just all depends on how zoomed in or zoomed out you are. You look at any global conflict that's ever happened with the U.S., if you zoom out enough, yeah, it's a buy the dip opportunity. Hi, no extreme. ETH 3 bullish days and then a month of sideways. Yeah. Well, I mean, we got a bit more. Yeah, no, that's a fair enough assessment. 3 bullish days and a month of sideways. I mean, and that's a good analogy of what trading is. You focus on the opportunity, and many times, again, you look at the chart of my profit in my career, it is condensed in these little windows of time, and everything else is just little base hits. Who cares? And that's when you smash it and pump the gas, and then when it's chopping around sideways, you know to pump the brakes and move on. But that's just so often what markets do. I mean, Tesla, on the way up here, I just keep giving examples to show you it's other markets as well. Big bull move, then nothing. So 4 days of opportunity, 2 weeks of nothing. Week and a half of opportunity, week and a half of nothing. It's just these cycles of expanding ranges and then constricting ranges. Thanks, Zach, for the support over the last 8 years. Not a shill. I wear that badge proudly. Thanks, Boomafoo. Is crypto versus BTC still relevant for day trading? Or, see, that's a good question. Because I'm not actively day trading crypto, I can't give a proper assessment to answer that question because I'm not in the trenches. I use it for swing trading at this point because I am only swing trading crypto at this point. So I would say I think it's probably less meaningful on the shorter term time frames. You know, when you're in beast breakout mode, blue skies, it gives some nice clues. You know, just like ETH BTC gave us the swing clue where ETH USD got the bull break and ETH BTC did not. Little clue. You can get those clues on the 5-minute time frames. I just don't know if it's required that you're in a very significant volatile environment for those clues to be worthwhile. And that may be the case. But again, I couldn't say with confidence. BCH, that's standing out for relative strength. We got a real tough resistance zone. So look at these tops here. We topped out. This reminds me just of CRV and ETH. Remember our ETH most important level for the last 2 years? That's what we just rejected from. And it was probably the bounce that happened early in the year. BCH has the same thing here with 3 major tops just under 500. And we're testing that now. So we can draw an uptrending resistance line in addition to that to be keeping an eye on. But we got a daily uptrend, and that can be our guide. You know, anything above 397 is a daily high or low next consolidation. I would just be viewing BCH. You know, it's not a picture perfect equilibrium on the monthly because we did break to a lower low here by almost 10%. But my mind just seeks out these tightening ranges. And I'd be watching for the possibility that we set, again, there's a lot of crypto altcoins where monthly lower highs are on the table. Some of them have already set monthly lower highs. BCH, there's no sign of it, but anything under 640 is a monthly lower high. So we just got to keep that in the back of our minds and not forget it. Yeah, ETH is a great guide for the altcoin space in general. I'm definitely a cautious bull as well. If you're overinvested by a lot, you just need the game plan, right? That's the thing, like, I have friends that have been through 3 cycles. This is the 3rd cycle. And they still only will have a game plan of the ideal scenario. I'm going to sell when it gets up to here. And the point that I am trying to drive into their heads unsuccessfully time and time again is, okay, that's great. What if that doesn't happen? You have no backup plan. You just sat through 2 bear cycles of 85% drawdown, and nothing that you're doing right now is going to prevent you from doing that again. You're not changing anything about the other 2 times. You have to have your game plan for ideal scenario and your worst case scenario game plan. It is not a Litecoin bull flag on the 12-month. I don't even need to look at the chart. It's not even close. It's a potential bear flag. Maybe that's what you meant. Favorite bull ticker right now? I mean, in crypto, it was CRV for a while, but then it shifted. I don't have one. I don't have a high conviction bull play in crypto. I like Bitcoin as long as 100,000 support. But again, I mean, I can just show you so many stocks where I have high bull conviction. CRWV, high bull conviction. CCJ Uranium, high bull conviction. Look at these charts. Look at that daily uptrend, right? Imagine your altcoin was doing that. That'd be easy being bullish, huh? There's a ton of stocks that are doing this. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, if you keep playing the range between 103 and 110, as long as that remains, for sure. Again, it hasn't happened yet, right? We haven't broken support yet. I'm just giving a little bit of my opinion on if this happens, this is what I will think about it. Hasn't happened. Do I ever trade IBIT as a day trade or short-term swing? Yes, both. Generally, if I'm trading IBIT, it's because we're in a dump and I'm playing an oversold bounce and I have a day trade size position and I sell partial into a 5 or 15 minute bounce, and then I may try and turn that into swing position. But only in real extreme scenarios will I day trade it when there's a high amount of volatility, because again, you gotta leverage. The NASDAQ has 3 times leveraged ETFs. So, if the NASDAQ's dropping 1%, that ETF is dropping 3%. And again, it's hard these days for Bitcoin to give me an amount of volatility that is not equal or more in the stock world. And again, fees. You've heard me talk about fees plenty of times. 0 fees trading stocks. If I traded Bitcoin the way that I trade stocks with my day trading and positioning and sometimes scalping, I would easily be paying $50,000 plus a year in fees. And that is money that is literally out of my pocket. Where if I do the exact same thing in stocks, that $50,000 is in my pocket. And if I do the exact same thing in crypto, that $50,000 is out of my pocket. So not only do you need to have volatility significantly more than stuff in the stock market, you've got to be even more than that because of the fees being a factor. What are the most notable drawbacks trading IBIT instead of having money separately on a crypto broker? I do have money both places, but the biggest drawback is your hands are tied from 8 p.m. Eastern to 6 or 7 a.m. Eastern, depending on your broker. So hands tied. What if Bitcoin drops another 5% at midnight? You can't do anything with your IBIT. And again, that's changing. That's another factor. Once stocks go 24/7, which is going to happen, it's just another point away from crypto in terms of, okay, this used to be a big advantage, 24/7 trading. We didn't have anything close to that in stocks. And now, Webull and Robinhood, and they're trying to catch up with the times, and they say, oh, traders want this thing. Let's give it to them. And then the big names like Schwab and Fidelity say, oh, our users are going to Webull and Robinhood because we don't have this thing. We better get that thing as well. Yeah, weekend. Awesome, Chris. Started crypto 8 years ago, now primarily in the stock market. Love the liquidity that the stock market has. Yeah, I mean, billions of dollars. You know, Tesla today is trading, I mean, what's 61 million times 316? I don't know. A lot. Interactive brokers, yeah, they're adding extended hours. Wow, I've never heard anybody say the word Litecoin outside of my computer. I don't think in my life. 8 years, never heard the word. All right, it's starting to rain. I got to move the dog bed and things inside. I appreciate you watching. Let's check in real quick. NASDAQ still weak, 5-minute downtrend. Is Bitcoin still holding the low? Yeah, so again, it's trying the relative strength. It's trying to shape up the 5-minute uptrend. Got to get over 104.3 to confirm the 5-minute uptrend. Appreciate you all watching. Thanks for the likes. All about Bitcoin, 103. Again, for me, you know, 103, 100,000. I'm just using a round psychological 100,000 number. Because if you break 103 but bounce off 1019, you know, we're still in range. Okay. Do good things.